to import existing client accounts into our application from Orion, see whether or not those accounts are in alignment with the investor's stated investment objective, and then compare those client accounts or prospect accounts that you could have manually inputted to Silver Oak models or strategies or your own blend. Okay, so I'm going to take it kind of from the top, give you guys a really good overview of what we're capable of, but please feel free to stop me at any time with any questions. We are recording this, so you'll be able to access this at a later time. If anyone has any trouble hearing me, if you have any questions, please let me know, because you know, the questions you have are probably similar to maybe something some other advisors Silver Oak may have. Okay? So without further ado, like you should all be able to see my screen. Now what you're going to notice first is when you log in, the application itself is going to be completely white labeled for you. So this is not something that's going to look like an AdvisoryWorld proposal tool or for a Morningstar proposal tool. This is looking like a Silver Oak proposal tool. So you're going to have your branding. You see we're in Billy's login here, so we've got Billy's picture. If I click on the name here, you can put in all of your personal information. This is where you'd have the ability to put in fees. Now these fees could be a flat fee, a tiered fee, or breakpoint. This is where you could put in those images. Now you wouldn't have to worry about this branding because we're going to handle all of that for you. We'll work with Billy and some others there to make sure that all the branding is done at a firm level so that it'll automatically trickle down to the user level. Now below, the last thing you'll see here is something that's really cool. It's something we're excited about. It's called Acquire. What Acquire is allowing you to do is implement a lead gen component to your business. Okay, so you could take this HTML snippet here, and you could essentially embed that into your website or social media account. Okay, and what, like I said, what that's going to do is implement a lead gen component. And if I copy and paste this link into this web address, you'll see that if I'm an investor and I had gone to your website or your LinkedIn profile or Twitter account or whatever it may be, I could click on that and I would see this. So it says, welcome to Silver Oak Securities Proposal Questionnaire. They would go through an authentication process, fill out a risk profile questionnaire, enter some personal information, and then what would happen is the next day, or your next login, I should say, the next time you log in, you would see something like this, generated lead, and it would, you know, if they had put in their information, it would say / Joe Smith, something to that effect, okay? And then you could reach out, their contact information would be in the system, you could reach out to them, and the process begins. So that's a way that you would be pulling information into our system, okay? Now, if I click New Proposal, we have the ability here to import existing accounts. So this would be something if you wanted to generate a proposal for an existing client, so we could pull data in from Orion. In this instance, I'm manually inputting a prospect because I think a big part of this is going to be bringing in new business for you. So even though we're manually inputting it, it's going to be really quick and easy. We're simply going to need name and email. Now at this point, I can click Send Questionnaire, and now I'm pushing that questionnaire to them to where I can gather information. So a couple of different ways that we're doing that. So again, just some basic information that I need to have populated in there. Now once I click Save and Next, what's that? Is there a question? Okay, so now that we're going to go through our questionnaire. So this would be an example of something that either you would have on your website or something that you would be sending to the prospect. Okay, now we have our existing 10-question questionnaire here. We are going to upload Silver Oak's own questionnaire once you guys provide that to us. So this will be all unique to you. So as I go through this, so now as I've filled out the questionnaire, upon completion, I am now provided a risk score and investment objective associated with that risk score for the investor. Okay, so in this case, Joe's sample here is a 41, which we call as growth and income. Okay, now let's say the next day, well, I should say before we get into that, we're also giving you a couple things that are letting you know what a 41 means. Okay, because somebody say, okay, a 41 is great, but you know, what does that mean? We're showing you the range of values and range of returns at 90% confidence associated with that 41. So we're essentially giving you an idea of what the downside and upside is associated with that risk score. Okay. So now let's say the next day that the investor is now in the office with us. Okay. So we're talking through this, and I have the ability to use this slider here to show Joe that this is what an 85 looks like. Okay. You see the volatility that we're introducing to the portfolio here. Or this is what a 30 looks like. Now Joe says, you know what, Ed, I know I filled out the questionnaire in this way, but you know, this 30 sounds a lot more like me. So at this point, we have the ability to override the questionnaire by clicking Accept Manual Risk Score, but we're always going to leave the results of the questionnaire populated within the application here for compliance purposes. I don't know if anyone else hears that beeping. I don't know if someone's trying to beep in. But now we've got here we're jumping from, we've got the risk profile assessment. So we are now using a 30 to, so now we've now got this 30 that we're using to move forward as far as risk score goes. Okay. So now by design, we are jumping through. Okay. Now I muted everyone, just so you know. So hopefully everyone can hear me now. But by design, we are jumping straight to proposed accounts. Okay, now we're doing that because we do a lot of work with TAMPs, and their process is really just, get a risk profile assigned, assign that investment objective, direct them to a strategy, and get the proposal out the door. Now, we really think it's powerful to be able to analyze the existing accounts, and I think that you guys will be doing the same as well. So we're looking at this 30. Now, analyze existing account. I could have either pulled in the account from Orion, but in this case, this Joe here is a prospect. So you see the different registration types. Okay. So now I've got Joe's statement, and let's say that Joe, just to make it easy, he's got Growth Fund of America and Bond Fund of America. So I add them both. Now what we're going to see is on the top right, we're going to see a risk score automatically populated based on his current allocation. So let's say that Joe's got 800 grand in Growth Fund of America, 200 grand in Bond Fund of America. So now based on that allocation, you see that Joe's current score is a 69. So if I click Save, here is his existing account. Now, if Joe had a brokerage account, another IRA, a 401k, each of those accounts would be populated here, scored individually, and then we would roll those scores up to a household level risk score. Okay? Now, I don't have to be a CFP to recognize that Joe here is clearly out of alignment with his stated investment objective. Okay? So now I can go to proposed accounts. So here's the advisory fee that Billy had populated. You would have your own. I click Add Proposed Account, Registration Owner, Registration Type, Next. Now, this is where you can either create your own model, or if you go Load Model, you're going to have pre-populated models here. So you see that there's a couple in here. So if I click on this one, actually, okay. I know we loaded up a couple of these models. Let's see. They don't seem to be adding up to 100, so we'll just go, we'll manually input one, and we'll get that resolved. So that would be an example of how you would be able to load up a pre-populated model, but if you wanted to create one on the fly, let's just say VRUFX. And you see we're not only scoring the accounts, but we're scoring the product level as well. So you see Bruce Fund, its ticker, the type of product it is, and the risk score associated with that product. So let's just make it easy. Okay. So now as I change this allocation, you'll see the score. 48, sorry, one more change. Well, just for the sake of time here, I'm going to click Save. And now I go to Documentation. At this point, I can generate an investment proposal and or investment policy statement. So this will just take a moment to build. And you know what? I have everyone muted, so if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat log. After I go through the reports and the account opening process, I can open it up for questions. Okay, so now here's our investment proposal. Again, reports completely branded for you. So here is where you currently are. Here is where we're trying to get you. These are the adjustments that need to be made to get from current to proposed on the asset class level and the underlying security level. Risk versus return. And things like this, I think that you'll find the reports are very easy to explain. They're very simple so that the investors, whether it's a client or prospect, are not going to get lost in a bunch of, in the minutia of a bunch of MPT statistics. we're basically showing here's where you currently are, here's what we're recommending, here's the S&P, and here's the Barclay Ag. Trailing performance. And annualized return. And then we get into some expected returns and disclosure. Okay? So very simple and easy to explain investment proposal. Now we have the ability to generate an investment policy statement. So now the investment policy statement is going to have even less on the analytics side. Now the investment policy statement is quite literally just all about, are you in alignment with stated investment objectives? I think that this type of thing is perfect for the type of thing that is coming down the pike in April, whether or not you think that the fiduciary rule is going to be repealed or delayed or whatever. I still think that you should be investing in the best interest of your clients. I know that you all would agree. This is the exact type of report that is showing that, hey, your investment objective is income with moderate growth because you have a risk score of 30. The range for that investment objective is 21 to 40, and I had adjust the model, but for the sake of time, but theoretically your proposed account would be directly in line with your investment objective, whereas your current account is clearly out of alignment with your stated investment objective. Okay? So I think that this page right here is really what an IPS is all about. Very clear. There's nowhere to get lost. It's black and white. Are you in alignment with your stated investment objective? You are not. What we're recommending is. And then as we continue down, some basic verbiage as required as having as part of an investment policy statement. Current versus proposed. We'll monitor and review, and then we get into acceptance and adoption. So simple, about 6 pages. Not having this giant, 25-page investment policy statement. Something easy to explain for your clients, for you to explain to your clients and for your clients to understand. Okay. Now at this point, everything looks good. We can then do one of two things. We can either leverage our account opening capabilities with Orion's new account center to push this proposed account directly to Orion's new account center. Or what we're finalizing with TD Ameritrade is integrations directly with their version of DocuSign to where we could push the proposed account to TD's version of DocuSign to open the account directly at the custodian, at which point they would send that information automatically to Orion's new account center within 72 hours. Okay? Now, that is all I wanted to take you through on the proposal tool. We are going to shortly go through our Scanalytics program, but I wanted to give you all an opportunity to ask questions. So everyone's unmuted now. Does anyone have any questions regarding our proposal tool? No? Billy, was there anything additional that you wanted me to focus on the proposal tool?
This is Ryan. Billy stepped out for a couple minutes, but that was a good overview of the proposal tool. I think he touched on all the big high points of it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. So now
I want to get some clarification on real quick. Is I might not have been listening to this part, but you said about having multiple risk scores for, say, a client had multiple different accounts.
Yep.
Each account can have its own risk score. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if I go back to existing accounts, so someone might have their IRA here is 69. Now if I went and added, Joe here also has a personal, like say a brokerage account.
Okay.
And that beeping is. So now let's say within this you've got a few equities. Now he's got. Okay, so now on this account, it's a 74, and then we roll up a household level risk score that's all based on the weighting and allocations of the two.
Perfect.
So each of them would be scored individually. And then keep in mind that we can also call these risk scores, household level risk scores, directly through Orion's client portal. Okay, one.
Be able to touch on an example of that?
One second. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of that. I gotta mute everyone so I can get rid of that beeping. But I can. I'll go on that. I'll go through the our integration with Orion at the tail end of the Scanlytics. Okay. I'll go through that real quick.
Thanks.
All right. So now we've gone through the proposal tool, which is really about just implementing a streamlined proposal process. It's not about getting into the nitty-gritty on the analytics. Just a simple 5-step process to where you can get a risk profile assigned, assigning them an investment objective, and then analyzing existing accounts, comparing them versus proposed, and getting that proposal out the door. Okay, now what I want to take you through now quickly is our Scanlytics program. Now our Scanlytics program is really being leveraged as an alternative to a Morningstar workstation, okay, at a much lower cost. Now this tool is going to allow you to get deeper in the analytics, okay? So think, screening capabilities, portfolio optimization, analysis of existing accounts, comparing versus proposed, investment fact sheets, just a little more detailed on the analysis side. So simply, if I click search and I want to run a quick investment fact sheet on a mutual fund, ETF, or equity, click build report, and what's going to come up real quick is your one-page investment fact sheet. Now, similar to our proposal tool, everything within this will be branded for you. Okay? So this would be like the equivalent of a Morningstar snapshot report. So every product will be classified for you by Lipper and compared versus its benchmark, trailing performance, NPT statistics, macro allocation table, top 10 sectors, countries, and holding. And then we don't provide any sort of commentary or ratings, okay? But we do show you how these products have stood up against their peers over specified time periods, okay? You can also screen on any of these metrics. Similar to the proposal tool, this would be completely integrated with Orion. This is also integrated with Vayo. We're going to be part of the first integrations with Vayo 1 once they're rolling that out. eMoney, you see all the different integration partners we do have. This, I'm just going to jump into the reports. As I mentioned, a little more granular on the analysis and a little more flexibility. Like maybe I want to adjust the benchmark that I'm comparing to. So I can use the Barclay Ag, Russell 1000, IFA, etc. or I can create my own blend without any limitations. But what I want to do here is I'm going to use a weighted asset class benchmark, which allows us to create a blended benchmark for you on the fly based on the current composition of the portfolio that you're in. Okay? So we're creating that best fit benchmark for you. Now, Ed McManus had asked a question on what about non-traded products. Now, we cover over 5,000 asset classes, mutual funds, ETFs, SMAs, VA sub-accounts, equities, and individual bonds. In the case of a non-traded product or a UIT, something like that, you can either use an index as a proxy, or we allow you to create your own custom user-defined asset simply by uploading historical month-end returns. Okay, so if you can get month-end returns, we can upload any product for you. Okay, so now here, what you're going to see, as I mentioned, is a little deeper analysis than what we saw in the proposal tool. Okay, so asset pie chart, macro allocation table, which is giving me the ability to look under the hood of the investments within the portfolio. So I can look within their ETFs or SMAs or mutual funds to give that overall equity, fixed income, convertible breakdown. Risk versus return, trailing performance versus that benchmark, a few basic MPT statistics, nothing that's going to be too overwhelming. Then, equity and fixed income properties, 12-month yield, average expense ratio, which is great to have, top 10 sectors, top 10 countries, and then as we get down into top 10 equity holdings, I'm able to show overlap. Okay, so this here, this prospect thought he was diversified because he had 10 different products within his mutual fund. Now, I'm able to show him that not only do you own Microsoft as an individual equity position, which is making up 5% of your portfolio, but the Microsoft is also held within Contra Fund, SPY, Growth Fund of America, First Eagle Global, and Capital Income Builder. Home Depot is in these three products, Facebook, Berkshire Hathaway. So this person has quite a bit of overlap. Okay? Now, a reminder, if there's any questions, please use that chat log there on the right side of your screen. So now we've analyzed this existing account. We know that they're taking too much risk. They don't have the diversification that they think that they do. So now I can use our allocation analysis to compare versus that proposed account. So all of your proposed accounts will be populated here, similar to the proposal tool. But this tool just allows a little more flexibility, giving me the ability to really tailor the reports to whoever I'm presenting to. Maybe for my own research, or I've got a really analytical client, I want to get a little more granular in my analysis. So now, here is where you are. Here is what I'm recommending. These are the adjustments that need to be made to get from current to proposed on that category level, asset class level, and investment level. Somebody had asked if we track managed account allocations. SEI, I think we've got some of their SMAs in here. We do have a number of separately managed accounts. I could just very quickly show you our list. So our separately managed account database is updated quarterly, or as these managers are reporting. I think you'd agree that they would prefer probably to never report, but I find it's pretty much quarterly. So you see a number of different, so yeah, here's all the SEI. So yes, we do track SEI. And actually, well, fun fact, we actually work very closely with SEI. We developed their proposal tool from scratch. So it's another example of a big company that's being very successful leveraging our proposal capabilities. So here, back to the report, trailing performance, current versus proposed versus each of their weighted asset class benchmarks, risk versus return. Simply, here is where you are, here's what I'm recommending. And at first glance, the investor might say, well, look at that, that return that I'm losing. But in this case, we're more focused on managing risk. So I could, I could say, well, hey, even though I'm losing a little return, I'm taking so much less risk that if I look at something like the Sharpe ratio, I'm essentially getting twice the amount of return for the amount of risk that I'm taking. Okay, at a much higher alpha, so I'm generating much more alpha at a much lower beta. My max drawdown is much lower, and I'm capturing much less of the down market than they are. So a number of different metrics that you can use to help tell your story. Equity properties, current versus proposed versus the S&P. Fixed income, current versus proposed versus the Barclay Ag. And then as we've seen before, where they have a ton of overlap, what we're recommending literally has none. Okay, so we have a lot more capabilities in there, but in a nutshell, that would be our Scanalytics program. Very quickly, I'm going to unmute everyone, so if anyone has any questions prior to me jumping into the Orion integration. Does anyone have any questions for me? Ryan, was there anything that you saw that I missed that may be helpful for the group here?
No, that was a good overview of the Scanalytics so far. I mean, I think you covered it well without giving away too much information and bogging it down. You covered each of the topics pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, and there's more to it, obviously, but just for the sake of everyone's time here, and we are recording this, I just want to give you guys a high-level overview. Okay. So the last thing now, we're going to show how we can run these reports through Orion. And we can call our risk scoring. Now, you should all be familiar with this. This is Orion Connect. Now, what I want to show you first is through the client portal. And at the very least, I'll be able to show you that they do call our reports. For some reason, sometimes they're not always functional. And this is a demo Orion environment, so bear with me. So this is the Orion client portal. Now, this is all Orion information here. You see everything's dynamic, which is cool. Now, where AdvisoryWorld resides within Orion's client portal is with the Holdings tab. Now, for whatever reason, it's in this demo account. It's not active, but you see that the AdvisoryWorld risk score would be populated here for you. Then next to each product, you'll see a PDF icon. Now what this PDF icon is letting you know is that you have the ability to generate our one-page investment fact sheets on any product directly through Orion's client portal. So this could be something that you do on behalf of your clients or that your clients are doing. Keep in mind you do have the ability to limit this, saying that I don't want Dean Martin here to have the ability to come run fact sheets. Or I could click and run that holding scan report that we had run through Scanalytics directly through our client portal here. So a real added level of convenience for you and your clients. Okay. Now that is the client portal. Another place that we integrate is in the report builder. Now I think that this is particularly cool because what this is allowing you to do is to create your own custom templates. So if I go to new report and I click on this little image here, so now what you're going to see is under the integrations here. So you see all of these AdvisoryWorld sub-reports. What these are aspects of our reports. Okay, so you don't have to take a report in its entirety. you could say, hey, you know, I really just like this asset pie chart and macro allocation table because I really want to leverage AdvisoryWorld's diversification metrics. So overlap analysis and a macro allocation table, okay? Now I want to combine these with Orion's performance reporting. So now I go on the performance tab and I say annualized performance chart, account performance, etc. So now what I've done is I've combined AdvisoryWorld's diversification metrics with Orion's performance reporting. Now this is one of many templates that I can now use for my quarterly reviews or for, you know, other reporting that I want to do, okay, because I can create unlimited templates in here. Now another new report, I think that they have it in here, is expected versus actual. Now this is very cool. This is a new report that we're doing with Orion. So what we have here is in the green is expected returns. So based on historical performance, we can provide forward-looking expected returns at 95% confidence. And that's what this range here means. Now what we have done with Orion is we've teamed up with them, and what they're doing on this, we're providing them the expected forward-looking returns. And then what Orion is doing is plotting the actual historical performance to show or to help with the conversation of long-term investing. And what this is allowing you to do is have that conversation with your clients to where, hey, you know, right now we're in a bull market and things are great and we're up here, okay? But we could have been down here, okay, just as easily. Or we're in this bear market, we could have been up here. So but this is where we have been over those time periods, and what you're seeing here is that the regression to the mean, and that holding these portfolios long term is really beneficial. Okay, so this again is a report that you can run directly through Orion. Now that's pretty much it for me. I'd like to now, everyone's unmuted, so I'd like to now open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Ryan, is there anything else that I should be covering?
I think you covered all the major points of AdvisoryWorld. It's going to be up to everyone else to get in and start playing with it. That's when all the questions I feel like are going to start coming in. People start really getting into it.
That's a good point. And I have recorded this, and I'm actually going to stop recording now unless there are questions. But this session has been recorded. I'm going to share it with Billy and Ryan so that they can access it. 1 second.